Hey Capricorn, I am going to be doing your new moon in Capricorn energy check-in. So we're going to be starting with your sign this time rather than Aries. This is traditional. And what I think I'll do is I'll do all the earth signs at once. Oh my goodness gracious me. Sorry. I sprained my hand the other day. And so shuffling is a little bit more challenging than is usual. There you are. Yeah, Capricorn. Let's see what goes on here. I'm going to do a little different approach to my reading. I want to approach it a little bit more academically at the top, and then we'll kind of go into it and see what we find. We'll do Celtic Cross. And if I need clarifications on it, we'll do that using the Muse Tarot over there, I think. Okay, let's get into this. Capricorn. All right, let's look at this. Capricorn. Can Capricorn. What does Capricorn need to know for this one? Okay, the world in reverse. This is a signifier. It's not unfinished business. A cycle that has delays in completing. Yeah. Also fixed sign energy. Could be dealing with one of the fixed signs. Just Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. Yeah. No. Sorry, buddy. Sorry. It is a cat farm right now. Sorry about that. They're really active right now. It's really funny. Sometimes they'll be sleeping, and sometimes they'll be just having a heyday. Okay, so the world in crossing you is the Six of Pentacles, charity, give and take, reciprocity, balance, needing charity, giving charity. Can be on either side of that. What is at the root of you is the Two of Swords. Two of Swords is a decision, being blocked off from something, not having all of the information, being blinded to the information, uncertain of how to move forward, choosing. What crowns you is the Seven of Cups, which is having a lot of options, perhaps a sense of overwhelm, having a lot of options that you love, and therefore not being able to choose, but definitely a sense of overwhelm. In the past is the Ace of Swords. It's a breakthrough, new ideas, mental clarity, victory. Victory over adversity, a clear victory. Yeah. Groundbreaking ideas. Did I say breakthrough? In your near future is the Emperor card. Could be somebody. This is Aries energy, but doesn't have to be. This is somebody who's very... It's a card of authority, a card of structure, rigidity, a sort of immovable nature, but also victories. Battles hard fought and hard won, a station well earned. Someone in a position of power and authority. Your energy is the Queen of Cups, very nurturing, emotionally supportive, pre-empress, pre-priestess, very intuitive, divine feminine energy doesn't have to represent a woman per se, but could also be could be male or female in gender. But the energy is divine feminine, and so that includes creation, nurturing, birthing of new ideas, birthing of new feelings. This is a very emotionally supportive energy. And your environment is the King of Pentacles. Very fatherly energy, very secure materially, and very exalted in creation. This is sort of pre-emperor energy. Doesn't really have a whole lot of emotion, but he's not unnurturing because there is the element of earth. So not like the emperor, whose access to emotion is very trace, as depicted in that tiny little rivulet of water back there. He's largely unemotional. The King of Pentacles is much more nurturing, but perhaps he doesn't overshare like the Queen of Cups might, that affection. But very exalted, earthly energy. Your hopes and fears is the Knight of Swords. It's the energy of fast-moving, fast-approaching messages. Air energy, intellectual communication, lots of fast-moving communication, sudden communication, communication that was perhaps not well thought out. Hopes and fears. Sort of a reckless energy, potentially, in how swiftly it comes in and is sort of kill or be killed. Very single-minded messages and communication. And your outcome is the Six of Cups. Six of Cups is friendships, perhaps old past friendships. It's also a bit of a reciprocity card. There's a little bit of generosity, sharing old memories, past life, if you so subscribe, relationships, but deep deep old friendships that, bring about a lot of nostalgia. It's a card of nostalgia, reflection, childlike innocence, nostalgia of childlike innocence, of the time that went before. But again, generosity. It mirrors to me, it's also a 6, so it makes sense. And 6 is a lot of balance. You're on the right track. I've heard said 2 6s mean. These cats. But there is a generosity mirrored, a charity mirrored in both of these cards. So what crosses you earlier is sort of a part of your outcome as well. Okay, so let's get into this. What do I see? So what did we say? So we have some unfinished business with the World card, and it has to do with a level of give and take or reciprocity. I'm sorry, these cats are going crazy. You guys have got to calm down. Sorry, guys. But yeah, some unfinished business, a cycle that is delaying in finishing out, and it has to do with this balance, the balancing act of reciprocity, if that makes sense to anybody. The balancing act of the act of give and take. And this act is in the material sense, whereas when we talked about, and we'll get to this, this is on an emotional level, in the heart space. So there may be something that needs to be balanced out in terms of how you are participating in this unfinished business, or how somebody else is participating in this unfinished business. So what's crossing you is a sense of balance in the give and take. At your root is the Two of Swords, and this indicates a decision, something that, you know, what you're coming from, what's inspiring this lack of balance and therefore lack of completion, is the sense that you don't have all the information, and so it may require that you take a leap of faith, or you know, or at least it's just recognized that there's something that you feel blocked off from knowing, that you don't feel like you have all of the information that you need in order to complete out this cycle. What crowns you are, you know, a lot of options that you love, or a sense of overwhelm from what is being offered. So the crowning energy, you know, that has to do with how you look forward. So if your inability to balance this out and complete out the cycle, you know, you just don't, it means that you don't know until this is completed, and until you feel like you have the resources and the information that you need in order to do it, that you just don't know how you'll be able to go forward. You know, this completion of this cycle determines which direction you go. Now, the good news is that you seem to have a lot of options that you love. And at this point, though, not knowing where to steer your ship is giving you a sense of overwhelm. So that's acknowledged here. You're coming from a place of having a lot of breakthrough. So this is, by all evidence in this card here anyway, this cycle and whatever this project or this relationship, whatever this cycle means to you, it's Capricorn. Capricorn, it's going to mean, I mean, it was a good idea. it was a very inspired idea. It came from a sense of breakthrough. And ultimately where it's going is the card of authority. So it's going to give you, once you get closure on this and therefore are able to ascend and know how to move forward, you are definitely in a position to become the authority on something. So what starts off as a nascent idea, this breakthrough idea, or this sense of personal clarity, leads you to, by virtue of going through this cycle, a sense of authority on a situation or on a job or on a project. You do ascend. Major Arcana. It also implies structure, so perhaps you promote into a more structured version of this thing that you do. I'm getting that for, you know, for those of you who are looking at this vocationally, as this is if this is a job. Yeah. And then when you talk about you and your position, you know, it's so interesting that you stand here in a really emotional and watery, position or place, and you're expressed here as this beautiful, just emotionally available and supportive and nurturing and very intuitive energy that's, you know, just very motherly, and it's just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. But what, you know, you're cultivating here is something that's very much the opposite of that energy. You know, which is to say that you're building something outside of yourself. Does that make sense? Like, it's something that's And maybe that has to do with why there's this balancing act here, that why you can't quite complete the cycle, and what you don't have the information on is how to bridge the gap between those sides. I mean, really, when you put these things side by side, I see counterparts, a divine feminine and a divine masculine, essentially. And those things can coexist. It's like yin and yang. And how to bring those things together into balance perhaps is part of your challenge. And so that you can move forward if, you know, you're going into a job that requires you to be more structured, and your nature, however, is much more, you know, this watery, nurturing, and so you feel like that might produce a duality in you. That, you know, that can be hard, that can be a struggle, but it's possible, it's doable. In your environment, and I think we're going to get a load of how in a second, but in your environment is the King of Pentacles, and this represents somebody who is very nurturing and very established. And so, and you know, it could be an earth sign. This is Pentacles is earth energy, but they don't have to be. It could be simply that they are just a very cultivated, they're just a very cultivated human being who it represents an exalted sense of material wealth and gain. So again, sort of akin to the Emperor energy, but you know, in terms of how elevated he is, but he's not quite as elevated as the Emperor, and he has more access to his emotions than the Emperor does. So that's in your environment, somebody who represents a potential, somebody who can potentially support this situation or support you through the situation. Your hopes and fears, again, is the Knight of Swords, which is fast moving. You need information. It's this, like I need information in order to understand how to go forward. And so you're hoping for it to come quickly. That's pretty straightforward to me. And so ultimately the outcome, where this is all heading as you sort this out, as you go through your process, is this sense of, you know, it's really interesting to like come from like this being a stepping stone into you establishing yourself, whatever this is. As you close out this process, you become a real authority, but you're able to soften, because that's who you are at the heart. It's like you're able to soften this thing, whatever it is that you're doing. The Emperor energy really stands out as like this necessary step in making people believe that you're the authority in something that you are by all rights. But it's almost as if there might be a requirement for you to sort of cut off access to your emotions, or your emotional side, and present as much more stern and rigid than you would normally be in order to establish this thing, you know, finish this project or establish this business or this relationship or whatever it is this period of time that you have to, this provisional time where you feel like you need to be the Emperor energy, but it softens because at your heart you're the Queen of Cups energy, and you have the support of also a nurturing energy that I think, you know, potentially maintains the sense of structure that's there, because that's King of Pentacles as well. And then your outcome is the Six of Cups, so you've come totally full circle to this really loving, cherishing energy that's really quite beautiful, because there is still this give and take. The give and take just went from, you know, the material sense to a really emotionally connected sense, and it allows you to return to self. I really that comes up a lot in readings that I do, because the idea of return to self, I think we go through these cycles, and that's what cycles like these talk about and imply to me is when you go through the many cycles that this life is made of, this mortal coil, if you will, is made of. The end of a cycle is often, you know, a bit of a return to self as you ebb and flow in a process of expansion. And so ultimately what this ends up as is a return to self, you know, and and it's a really joyous moment when you have a cycle that is by all rights very successful and establishes you as an authority, and that you can bring it through and make it and personalize it, so that instead of going off in a sense of duality and living like sort of like a dual existence where this is my work face and this is my home face, you know, for example. Some of you that will resonate specifically with, others of you it'll be slightly different. Anything that makes you feel divided in your life, where you're not able to behave in the world as you truly believe, you know. So what this outcome signals to me is that that's not what happens, that you're able to really return to yourself and maintain this level of you know, cycle completion and arrival, you know, that the Emperor stands for, but you do it with a lot of heart. I'm going to get a clarifier on the outcome, and here we go. So what we have here is the Moon, the High Priestess, and the Three of Wands. Okay, and that's clarifying the Six of Cups. So what we have here is, so we have the expansion card. So this sort of further supports perhaps how you bring this energy forward into something that's more watery and emotionally accessible. And so we have, first of all, the Three of Wands is expansion. Expanding, pushing past your boundaries and that sort of thing. So it says that in your outcome that, you know, that you get this level of expansion, and you know, I think that once you make an arrival, you know, at the end of this cycle, you can't just stay rigid, and there's an understanding, I think, pretty immediately that you have to what's the word? Well, you can't become rigid, because that rigidity doesn't allow for expansion, does it? You know, if you just sit there and own your authority, well, now you're just going to stand still in time and age out, and, you know, there's only obsolescence is the only thing that happens then if you don't keep moving. So you have to keep expanding, and the Three of Wands is a card of expansion, and so that's sort of how I think it naturally occurs to you that that's what the next step is. So the Three of Wands, it talks about that. Also, the High Priestess is, you know, an more exalted version of the Queen of Cups. She's pure intuition, though. Has access to, and it's not a surprise that the Moon, it comes out with her, because she is, you know, access to the Moon, and it's mystery. And so so it's interesting that she comes out here and as a really big strength, and that what that tells me is how you balance it is really to lean into your intuition and move forward with your inner guidance. The Moon card is really coming back to this for me, because, well, first the Moon is up here as a part of the obstacles that the Two of Swords presents, and we were talking about it being blocked energy and not having all the information. The Moon also talks about not having all the information. It talks about, you know, secrets and things that are kept in shadow, but the Moon is also illuminates quite a lot. So I feel like what you do, how you evolve through the situation, is at some point you do take a leap of faith and understand that, yes, there are a lot of things that are kept from me, but let's use our intuition by extrapolating from the things that are in the light of the Moon. Let's look at those things and put together what I already know from my very keen knowledge and keen experiences and keen understanding and in intellect. Frankly, you know, you have a great ability to extrapolate and, you know, arrive at a right answer. And so I think that's what these cards want to talk about in terms of how you get to that, how you achieve that balance. And ultimately, it really is the understanding that even though this is a fairly exalted, really exalted place to arrive at, you have to keep going. Isn't that frustrating? No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. This is life. These are the cycles that we talk about, and it's really, really beautiful. Capricorn, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and please hit the like button, the thumbs up there. Subscribe if you're so moved, and comment below. I'm really interested in hearing about what you think of your readings. And anyway, I hope to see you at the next one. Until then, I wish you love and light.